panel discussions that we're having. So we're having three panels today, and the very first one is very much related to Vivek's keynote, and it's going to be on game changing the NGSO constellations and enabling key applications. So thank you again, Vivek.
Thank you so much, Virgil. Thank you for having me here.
Okay, so we will move on immediately to our next to our panel, our very first panel. So those of you just joining us, this is the NatSatel online conference on innovative technologies and services in the industry. You can ask questions using the chat button. And if you miss some of the sessions, don't worry about it. This will be all available to all registered participants, maybe in a couple of weeks' time, once we've gone through and gotten all the right permissions for the different conferences. So without further ado, I move on now to our panel discussion on NGSO constellations and enabling key applications. We we will be focusing mainly on the IoT market, the Internet of Things market, which some of the analysts estimate to be, between 50 to up to 80 billion devices or things or different nodes of that can be connected. And we have a very good panel here. We have Jaume Sanpera. He's the CEO of Sateliot IoT. So, very who else can speak about IoT better than someone whose company name has IoT in it? And another speaker has IoT in their company name. He's Majdi Atout. He's a senior consultant for APPLIOT. He pronounces it APPLIOT. It's APL Application IoT. And then we also have Andrey Kirillovich, the director of strategy and business development of Intersputnik, to just give us an overview of this very important market and how he sees, both from the satellite operator side. Okay. So what will happen is that we have these three panelists. Each one will give a 2 or 3 minute introduction of their company, what they do, and then we will proceed in discussing address some questions in it. So without further ado, we'll start with Jaume. Jaume.
Thank you very much, Virgil. Thank you for inviting us to this interesting panel. What I would love to explain first is what Sateliot does. Okay, because we are breaking the traditional rules of connectivity inside the satellite industry. What we do is we do a simplest cost efficient terrestrial extension for them and for the mobile operator, which is the reason why. The reason why is because instead of using, as it has been done till today, proprietary devices, which means, that if you want to connect to, doesn't matter if it's an Iridium or Viasat or any of the traditional satellite operator, that you need to buy the device that it connects to those satellites. What we are doing, we have adapted our satellites, and thanks to the new release of the standard, to work directly with NB-IoT, 5G NB-IoT devices. The difference in this is huge because when the customer of the mobile operator uses the coverage of the base station, the mobile coverage, it connects directly with our satellites. And what we do is through a single roaming agreement with the mobile operator, we transmit information back to the mobile operator core. For the final user, these are absolutely seamless. They have no difference between connecting. The device is exactly the same device. There is no radio modifications, no new antenna. It's a fully standard 5G NB-IoT device working with release 17, which is the last release of the standard, which means that instead of costing 2, 3, 400 euros or dollars, it costs $5 to $10. And then this device, it connects to our satellite. And for the mobile operator, we are just an extension of coverage where they do not reach with the base station. It connects directly with our satellites, and we will revert back the information to the mobile operators that will give it to the final user. Then what we have, it's a super scalable go-to-market strategy. We partner with the carriers. You could see on the map on the right, on the top right, that we have already signed with carriers of more than 50 5 countries of the world. Okay, and we are launching our first commercial constellation, which is ready. It's the satellite, the small satellite in the middle. Okay, that will be launching with Transporter 11 next week. Okay, then this means that this service that since today it has become something absolutely unavailable for most of the use cases, satellite IoT connectivity, due to the high cost of the device and the connection, it was only available for critical IoT. It's available today for a long list of use cases. Today, okay, what we see in the graph, okay, is that we have started signing binding agreement with final users. These are use cases that are non-time sensitive use cases. And what we have signed today, that you see, it's 25% of the devices that were connected is asset tracking. Around 12% it's crops, agriculture. Then we find oil and gas, maritime, environmental, livestock. Just these 6 use cases attend for more than 75% of the total market. This is what we are doing, expanding our constellation on the next years with the capability of connecting more and more devices. Thank you.
Thank you, Jaume. So you're going to be launching in the next few weeks. Did you say that?
Yes. We are launching with the SpaceX Transporter 11, which is it's a forecast. As you know, okay, there is no an exact date until today, okay, but it forecasts that will be something happening on the next weeks from
pretty exciting. So we'll discuss that a little bit more later. So our next speaker is Majdi Atout from APPLIOT. So Majdi,
Yes, thank you.
Sorry,
Majdi. Yeah. Thank you, Virgil, for the invitation, and I appreciate the presentation of our solution. APPLIOT basically is an end-to-end satellite IoT solution that is enabling services of IoT over wide beam satellite, geo-wide beam satellites. First system of a kind that enables the wide beam satellites to provide services for low data rate IoT. The system had been built to be able to provide small type of terminals, ESA type of terminals, utilizing special waveforms to work with the wide beams, with the understanding that there was questions about what GEO can do. APPLIOT can enable operators and service providers utilizing their wide beams to provide IoT services, delivering services similar to L-band and exceeding that to provide more capabilities for IoT. It's not only messaging type of services like L-band. It's exceed that to do more data transmission, whether it's an IP TCP or message type of services. So this system had been developed with different type of sizes to match different type of services for the IoT. And the platform had been designed to accommodate millions of terminals. And with the system, we had provided as well portal access for customers. So it's an end-to-end solution. And what we had done, we had implemented an AI model within the software that can enable artificial intelligence into the services that the customer receives through the portal that will learn more about the customer requirements. The platform is capable to serve more than 85 IoT business cases and move forward from there. The reason why we did the wide beam with the geo availability of capacity right now, especially that LEO is capturing a lot of their business and availability of that capacity. Second thing, we know that the utilizing VSAT services over KU or KA band requires in-country license and in-country traffic landing. So wide beam is the easiest way that you can place the hub inside the country and meet the Telecom Regulatory Authority requirement. Plus, when you go into the KU band calculation when it comes to services, basically the cost of services for operators and service provider is very cost effective. Terminals are, as I said, ESA terminals doesn't need or require a customers to be expert to install such kind of terminals as they work by themselves. Can you move to the next slide, please? It's just a regular VSAT system that we are used to. The only difference is that the terminals are ESA terminals. The system is capable to do wide beam, definitely high throughput satellites. Definitely we can do LEO, although I don't see how we can work with LEO, especially they are closed systems when it comes to the VSAT solutions. The system can communicate from the user type to different type of protocols over the satellite to the hub station, which can point that traffic to the customer portal or to the portal which is provided by the system. Next slide, please. These are the type of terminals. We do provide mobility type, vehicle and maritime type terminals, and fixed type of terminals, which is portable, by the way. The type of terminals comes in two sizes, what we call the RS1 and the RS3. The RS1 is a smaller type of terminal, the RS3 is a bigger type of a terminal. And we are targeting to do services similar to the L-band services today, whether it's in the sea or in the land. And the bigger terminal will be targeting to do even more, do live streaming, live continuous data transmission, which has more capability. Again, the story here is that wide beam satellite operators can fit into the IoT game today. We are enabling them to get into the IoT game where they can gain business that can fill the gap on the revenue stream that they lose from leasing capacity itself. Just a note, APPLIOT is not a service provider. We are a solution provider and enabler. Finally, where this is going, basically we are into the development of the antennas where we are developing today a chipset, which is a full antenna layer. So basically, a year from now, we will be looking at an antenna, which is basically a chipset. The whole layer of the antenna, from the antenna level to RF to everything, it will be in a chipset, which means that connected cars will be a reality. We will be able to build the chipset in the glass, hence it's seamless, and this is where we are going. So we are continuing to develop such kind of a system. And with that, we will be developing the 5G NTN modem on an ASIC. So the whole system will be just a chipset type that can be built anywhere, everywhere, in any size. And that's it.
Well, thank you, Majdi. Yeah, we'll discuss that a little further. Thank you for that overview. So we'll move on to Andrey. Andrey from Intersputnik. Andrey, you're muted.
Yeah. You hear me now?
Now we can hear you.
Okay. Yes. Thank you, Virgil. First of all, on behalf of one of the organizers, I would like to greet all the speakers and virtual attendees of this event, which has become an annual one. And this is a new breath in Satcom industry online events. So I hope all who registered will get some industry, market, and technology intel and insights during the conference today. So now a few words on me. I represent Intersputnik. It's a market player with 50 plus years of history. The Intersputnik International Organization of Space Communications is an intergovernmental organization established in 1971 with 25 member states. The members appoint signatories from among national telecommunications entities. The main goals of our organization is to contribute to the strengthening and development of economic, scientific, technical, cultural, and other relations through communications, radio, and television broadcasting via satellite. Another goal is to ensure cooperation and coordination of efforts in the design, establishment, operation, and development of the Intersputnik international system of communications via satellites. Intersputnik actively cooperates with the United Nations and its specialized agencies, intergovernmental satellite communications organizations, and other organizations promoting the peaceful exploration and use of outer space. For instance, Intersputnik holds permanent observer status with the United Nations Committee of the Peaceful Uses of Outer Space, POPOS. We also contribute to the activities of UNOSA, the United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs. We are also a member of the International Astronautical Federation, and besides that, Intersputnik is also a member of radio and development sectors of the International Telecommunication Union and other various regional associations like the NGSO, Global Satellite Operators Association. Intersputnik has also established direct relations with other international satellite communications organizations like ITSO, IMSO, Eutelsat IGO, and RASCOM. Unlike the vast majority of intergovernmental organizations, Intersputnik is tasked with the commercial operation of its satellite system. A unique status of Intersputnik allows it to scale up its commercial activities through international cooperation. The organization has access to the bandwidth of most satellite operators across the world. Intersputnik provides customers on all continents with a bandwidth of satellites in geostationary orbit, as well as full range of advanced satellite communications and broadcasting services. Plus, additionally, we also provide full support for national satellite procurement projects, including orbital slots. A consolidated orbital fleet of 25 plus GEO satellites located from 14 west to 140 for 183 east, in combination with a widely distributed teleport infrastructure of partners and members and signatories, provides flexibility in delivering a dedicated, tailored connectivity solutions for almost every customer.
All right, so that's the introduction. What we'll do right now, actually, like I said in the introduction to this panel, Andrey has another brief kind of overview of what he sees, from the Intersputnik and GEO perspective of the different trends and, things that have opportunities in the IoT market. So carry on, Andrey.
Yes. Yes, could you please switch to the next slide? Yeah, thank you. So in general, we are a traditional GEO player, but our advantage is that we don't own the infrastructure. So we may choose any satellite orbit frequency teleport or VSAT hub available on the market with better cost performance ratio and deliver the customer a tailored service. So we are also looking at the emerging NGSO opportunities and service offerings and ready to include them into our service portfolio. So on this slide, I actually tried to summarize the key issues, trends, and opportunities that I see in the NGSO and satellite IoT market. So I summarized them here on the second slide, and just now I will briefly go through all of them. Actually, it's a view from the top from the GEO operator. So let's start with non-GEO broadband connectivity. So it's approaching and it's conquering some markets, but there are some issues still remaining. This includes lack of SLAs, as the service remains mainly best effort as of today. Also, the equivalent power flux density or APFD limits, which still needed to be maintained by non-GEO operators, not causing interference to GEO. This is also an important issue. Today, they are maintained as only one constellation operates in each frequency band. But what happens when the second or third start services? How this will affect performance of non-GEO? That's a really good question, and it needs to be answered. Another thing, the intra-satellite links. They improve efficiency and flexibility of non-GEO constellation greatly, but more and more governments say that they start addressing this issue, claiming to have domestic national network sovereignty. Another issue is that global NGSO players can provide connectivity right here and right now, at a particular moment. But for developing countries, it is essential to continue providing budgets invested into local economies rather than paying outside the country and solving some initial connectivity needs and including the location from the national and excluding the location from the national broadband plan. So speaking about the trends in broadband non-GSO adoption, they are the followers. First, the maritime markets all votes for it. as the beams and satellites are covering oceans and they're almost empty. So the customers may enjoy very high throughput. The aviation connectivity seems to be the next market, as it's also have quite good adoption. In terms of the vertical markets, service providers are now mixing non-geo with geo offerings, but the higher SLAs are, the more use of geo is provided. And now a few words about opportunities for non-geo broadband. First of all, global non-geo players need to partner with regional geo operators, as only in this case they can be sure to address all big projects locally. The future is also in the combination of, from my opinion, is that the future is in combination of geo, MEO, and LEO with smart traffic routing, depending on the latency, SLAs, or throughput requirements. So in general, I foresee 4 business models for LEO. That's a consumer broadband, Internet of Things, direct to smartphone, and network in space. I mean the Rivado model. So now let's move to satellite IoT. The current issues that do not let the technologies and services boost and increase market adoption are as follows. So there is a plenty of various waveforms used by different players. So there is no one single standard yet. So we have LoRa, we have NB-IoT, we have Wi-Fi, various VHF players, and 400 megahertz. Another thing that solution with satellite is still too complex for integration and operation compared to standard wireless or wired sensors and devices. And last but not least, the most important is the cost of services is still very high compared to terrestrial solutions. So speaking about the trends, we see that the good news, prices are going down as more and more players appear on the market. And what is more important, both governments and businesses, they understand the importance of satellite Internet of Things. As according to the World Economic Forum, I think 84% of IoT deployments either directly address or have the potential to contribute to UN Sustainable Development Goals. So what are where satellite can play a pivotal role? What opportunities satellite have in IoT? In the areas and verticals located outside highly inhabited areas or on the move. So this includes, first of all, smart agriculture and precise farming, land transport with roaming option. I'm not saying about maritime and aero, because as satellite is already used there. Then energy markets, I mean pipelines, rigs, mines, and other distant locations. Of course, the climate change mitigation to monitor vast territories and climate conditions, and also in disaster management. In my opinion, as our telecom infrastructure is constantly moving to a 5G ecosystem, the most potential in IoT, including the satellite, had the combination of 5G and the IoT standard with artificial intelligence and machine learning functions in order to automate the process of gathering, delivering, analyzing, and recommendation of information. Okay, thank you.
Well, that's really very good, Andrey. Now, our topic today is really focused on the IoT. So, to the two IoT providers. So, Jaume, do you use only LEOs, right?
Yes.
And Majdi, you use GEOs.
Yes.
Do you use MEOs also, or just GEOs?
We can use it, but as I told you, the question is that will MEO or LEO will allow you to use their space or their capacity and utilize the platforms? Right. They are closed systems. That's the question. We can. It's a matter of tracking in the antenna.
Oh.
But that's why we came in with the GEO system. But if you look at the Starlink and others, will they allow you to use their system and platforms to utilize? The answer, I believe, is no. Right?
Yeah. Now, my next question is to both of you. Since you're both IoT operators, there are many IoT players out there, and your guys are relatively new. Jaume, you started when, in 2018, and you'll be launching, in the next few weeks.
We have already launched 2 satellites, but those were test satellites, to develop our technology, and we are launching first commercial constellation in a few weeks.
And Majdi, you are relatively new. You were founded only this year, right? This is a new year, I believe.
Yes, it was last year, actually. But just to correct the information, we are not a service provider. We are a solution provider.
A solution provider, yes.
We are going to enable geo operators and resellers who used to use geo operators with the platform. So we will work with these guys to enable them to be service providers.
Right. Well, thanks for that clarification. But so my question to you both, and let's start with Jaume, is that, like I said, there are many players. How do you differentiate yourself? What is the uniqueness of your solution or your business case or business model? Starting with Jaume.
Yes, I think that what Andrey showed us, which are the difficulties today in connectivity in IoT, it's clearly addressing our uniqueness, okay? The first one is lack of standard. What we are using is the same devices that today are already around 4 to 5 billion already deployed by the mobile operators, are exactly the same devices that we have connectivity everywhere. Okay, we address the complexity of integration because the ones, okay, the device is a standard release 17. Okay, there has the last software of the standard. Okay, the last firmware of the standard. This means, okay, they will have they will be fully integrated in both networks, in the one that they are using, which is the mobile network, and in the same time on the satellite one. And finally, the cost. The market that we are addressing, it's the massive IoT market. Today, there are two markets, the critical IoT market, which is perfectly well served by the classical and incumbent satellite operators. Why? Because the most of the use cases, the today cost of the device and cost of the monthly quota are too expensive for those massive use cases, okay? Then if you need some critical application, perfect, you have the solution today, okay? But if you want to deploy it massively in tens of thousands of sensors in our overload, in an asset tracking, in agriculture, then you need a very, very small and cheap device with a very low ARPU. We are closing ARPUs around €3 a month, which is absolutely disrupting against what you could find today in the industry.
Yeah. So, Majdi?
Yes, basically, the system that we are providing today is a system that is capable to do the geo. And today, the capacity of geo, when you put it to do a service similar to the L-band today, the cost of capacity, when you package it into volume-based services, the cost of services of a megabyte or a 10 megabyte packages comes in cents. That's the cost of service when it comes to the cost. Now, I agree with Jaume that the terminal price today is at a higher rate from the L-band, but with the production increase, the cost of terminal will be less than the L-band terminals today. And we are expecting it even next year to be less once we have the chipset that I talk about. That will go into hundreds of dollars, $200 to $300 the cost of the terminal. But again, utilizing geo, knowing that the geo is in the range of $1,000 to $2,000, and when you convert that traffic into volume base, you are talking about gigs. That cost of capacity, a megahertz of $1,000, when it generates something like 50 to 100 gigabyte in terms of volumes, you can expect that the packages services in comparison to L-band is nothing. And that's where the cost, and that this market is cost aware. Yeah.
Right. So I'm glad you addressed that cost, Andrey. So now IoT is a very big market. Like I said, it's estimated between 50 billion to over 80 billion. So, Jaume, what are you focusing at? Andrey listed some of the key markets: agriculture, maritime, energy. What are the ones that you see as the most potential and you're focusing on?
Now, why now? Okay, with the first commercial constellation that we are launching, you are going to be able to provide several messages per day. Then this restrains a lot the type of use cases that you could address right now. Okay, we are talking about use cases that are not time sensitive. Then what we see is that there is a lot of asset tracking. Asset tracking is a major trend there are assets everywhere in the world without coverage. Then the second one is agriculture, crops. Crops, we have seen an incredible growth, and it is something that will be even bigger in the next years, because the crops, it's essential that most of the cases in the places where there is no coverage and they cannot afford high cost of the devices. Then we see a lot of oil and gas, maritime. Although it's, I agree with Andrey that it's a use case that it's already addressed by today terminals. There are a lot of more things in maritime. Okay, from life jackets to nets. Okay, that needs connectivity, needs to be tracked in order to be well used. Finally, environmental. We see a lot of environmental. We are at the same time signing with NGOs in order to provide them very low cost or free of cost connectivity. We have already working with Worldwide Fund or with SOS Amazonia in order to provide them connectivity in these places for environmental use cases.
So you can address all of that with your service.
Yes, we just do connectivity. This is the advantage.
Yes.
We just do small part of the value chain, which is the connectivity in these places where the mobile operators do not arrive.
Right. So Majdi, what are you focusing on? What segments of the IoT market do you see more potential for you and your company?
To be frank with you, there are several of these potential markets. As I said, we can address around 85 business cases. But what we see in the market today, fishery is a huge business going on. As we speak today, we are engaged in 4 projects, one in Bangladesh, one in Indonesia, one in Oman, one in Saudi, and one in Egypt. And these are not small number of projects. We are talking about at a minimum of 10,000s. So fishery is one big player. There are the smart farming, there asset tracking. We are involved in a lot of asset tracking. The key point really, Virgil, that the system can accommodate any type of services.
Okay.
Now, some of the countries that we are targeting are the countries who are requiring those L-band or those players to have gateway in country for the IoT traffic not to leave. Some of the traffic for IoT is not really sensitive, but a lot of business cases today, if I look at Saudi today, anything that to do with health and so on, is a traffic that is not allowed to be done over L-band, because that traffic cannot leave the country. It had to stay within the country, and that's where we are targeting. So we are targeting these markets where they require a platform to be in-country traffic, plus areas where cost of service that they need lower cost, like the fisheries, like the smart farming, are areas, and asset tracking are areas where, and mining, and areas where we need to cover. Basically, a lot of areas in big countries are not covered by GSM, hence satellite is the answer for that.
Right.
Yes.
We have a question from a user named Van.HUS. Some of it is already, he's a multi-part question. Some already was addressed, like the differentiations between the two IoT companies here. But Andrey, since you're a satellite operator in GEO mainly, what do you think of a multi-orbit strategy in IoT? You know, is that something? What are your thoughts on that? You know.
You mean the multi-orbit strategy in IoT, especially not broadband?
Yes.
Well, I think you know, like in non-geo broadband, right? The more orbits you have, the better performance you have. And as we see from non-geo broadband, there are multiple custom premises equipment appears that actually can work with various orbits. I think it's also essential to have access to as many orbits as possible, because this increase the performance, and of course it will increase the price of their unit. But again, it depends what kind of SLAs you have, and it actually depends on the application.
Right. Really interesting discussion here. We're nearing the end of this panel, so let me give an opportunity to each one of you. Maybe starting with Majdi this time. Just tell us what you think about, since this whole conference is about game-changing technologies. What are the game changers or innovations that you think will be driving the IoT market?
I believe that providing terminals which can be built into the body of things, like the connected cars project, they have been talking about it. So technologies of development of the antenna, enhancement in the antenna technology, which is moving today into building a chipset which has all the layers of the antenna. Hence, you can build a gateway antenna and a terminal into the body of a glass or the body of an object, a metal, that antenna becomes part of the object unit. And that will actually provide cheaper type of terminals, provide capability to have services all around, being able to build antennas in any form, in any format, is the key and the future of expanding the IoT services.
Thank you, Majdi. Jaume?
We believe in standardization. We believe that once a standard appears, it takes all. Okay, that we have just in agriculture, for example, more than 1,000 providers of sensors based on NB-IoT. In the world, there are billions of devices already connected and billions of people already using the same standard. This, joined with the power of commercialization with the mobile operators, it's a trend that for sure will be there to stay. We have to think that 5G is just the beginning of the standardization. 6G be fully integrating terrestrial and non-terrestrial networks. This means that finally in the satellite industry, a standard has arrived.
Thank you, Jaume. Andrey?
Yes, I think I will support the other speakers saying that, yes, standardization is really a must. Because this will actually, using one standard will help actually to use one chipset and actually to have an economy on scale in mass production. Then the ease of installation and integration is also important, because this will actually, the majority of the service offering they're combined with the terrestrial technologies, and they should work seamlessly. And the price, the price of the unit of the sensor or the terminal actually means a lot.
Well, thank you. This has been really a very interesting panel. We can go on and on, but there's one thing that we can learn from this is there's a lot to look forward to. So these new two startups is companies that worth following. Unfortunately, we have limited time. So thank you very much, Jaume, Majdi, and Andrey.